Starring in a huge movie is every actor's dream, but not all stars love the final product. Jennifer Lawrence has been in some high-profile films and earned numerous accolades for her work. While most of her movies tend to do well, one that didn't was 2016's Passengers. The film was a moderate financial success, but a miss with critics. While Lawrence and Chris Pratt's performances were generally regarded as well done, the story and its execution turned away a lot of people. The film handles the nature of consent via a love story that's out of place and more than a little creepy.
He woke me up. He took away my life.
Passengers also includes Lawrence's first love scenes, which she hated filming with Pratt. But that's not why she's not a huge fan of the film. The actor saw her performance as a career hiccup, telling Vanity Fair in 2021, "I was not pumping out the quality that I should have. I just think everybody had gotten sick of me. I'd gotten sick of me." Dakota Johnson's career has ranged from high-profile commercial successes like the 50 Shades franchise to acclaimed art house efforts like The Lost Daughter. But one project that didn't pay off for the actor in any fashion is Madame Web, which bombed at the box office. The film was a massive misstep for everyone involved, including Johnson. But while the internet cherry-picked her comments to shape a narrative suggesting that she despised Madame Web, it's not as simple as that.
You don't have to know anything about anything at all to watch this movie.
Johnson addressed the negativity during a 2024 interview with Bustle, telling the outlet, "I probably will never do anything like it again because I don't make sense in that world. But sometimes in this industry, you sign on to something and it's one thing, and then as you're making it, it becomes a completely different thing. And you're like, wait, what?" While his acting career kicked off in 2011 with Attack the Block, it's fair to say that most people first met John Boyega in Star Wars The Force Awakens. The way that the 2015 film establishes Finn suggested that he was on his way to becoming a significant character in the franchise. While he remained a key player, his role was surprisingly diminished in the subsequent two sequels. Boyega's star power was significantly elevated via Star Wars, but the actor has some issues with the sequel trilogy as a whole, stemming from how he was used and marketed. During an interview with GQ in 2020, Boyega said, "What I would say to Disney is do not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side. It's not good. I'll say it straight up."
I mean, we can feel it on set. It's like, yeah, we don't need you no more. Bye.
It's not uncommon for child actors to become successful adult performers, though some eventually succumb to the trappings of fame. When Shia LaBeouf alienated himself from the rest of Hollywood, it was more of a curiosity than anything else, because his personal struggles were relatively insular.
I need somebody to keep me accountable.
Of course, before any of that happened, LaBeouf was an up-and-coming A-lister with a massive franchise, Transformers. Executive producer Steven Spielberg personally handpicked LaBeouf for the part of Sam Witwicky, a role he held for 3 films before walking away. When he left the franchise, LaBeouf had some negative things to say about both Spielberg and director Michael Bay, though he later walked back on those comments. Still, he's been relatively unkind to the property that made him a household name. During an interview with Esquire in 2018, LaBeouf discussed his reason for leaving the Transformers franchise and why he's not a huge fan. He told the outlet, "My hang-up with those films was that they felt irrelevant. They felt dated as f***. It's very hard to keep doing what you're doing when you feel like it's the antithesis of your purpose on this planet." A lot of people mainly think of Christian Bale as Batman due to how well he handled the character. But Bale had been working as an actor since he was a kid, so he has a huge filmography of excellent movies. That said, there was one misstep early in his career, Newsies.
"You were in jail?
Yeah.
Why?"
Well, I was starving, so I stole some food.
The film was a miserable failure upon release, but is now considered a cult classic by so-called fansies. It also spawned a successful Broadway adaptation. Bale isn't known for doing musicals, and he's not a fan. He signed on to Newsies before any musical numbers were introduced, and he wasn't too keen on the changes. Not a singer by nature, Bale had no musical training prior to taking on the role. In a 2007 interview with Entertainment Weekly, he explained his take on Newsies when he was younger, telling the outlet, "At 17, you want to be taken very seriously. You don't want to be doing a musical. Time healed those wounds, but it took a while." Julia Roberts has been in some major movies throughout her career, and she's worked alongside some of the greatest actors of her generation. Through it all, Roberts appears to get along with her co-stars, but when it came to filming I Love Trouble opposite Nick Nolte, things changed. It's tough to love a job when you absolutely detest the people you work with, and Roberts has no love lost for Nolte. While promoting another film in 1993, Roberts told the New York Times that Nolte was completely disgusting on set, adding, "From the moment I met him, we sort of gave each other a hard time, and naturally, we got on each other's nerves." This animosity toward each other carried into their work, and the lack of on-screen chemistry between the film's leads is noticeable to anyone who sees it. The film was a critical and financial failure, and remains a dark stain on Roberts' otherwise mostly sparkling filmography. When people think of Josh Brolin and comic book characters, his portrayal of Thanos in the MCU probably comes to mind immediately, followed by his turn as Cable in Deadpool 2, one role that's often forgotten or purposefully avoided in discussions of Brolin and comic book characters is 2010's Jonah Hex, in which he plays the Western antihero. The film was a massive box office and critical bomb, earning just shy of $11 million on a $47 million budget. It wasn't just the critics and fans who hated the movie. Brolin is no fan of it either. The actor didn't hold back during a 2016 interview with Nerdist when he was asked about his experience making the movie. He said, hated it. The experience of making it, that would have been a better movie based on what we did, as opposed to what ended up happening to it, which is going back and reshooting 66 pages in 12 days. Charlize Theron had a meteoric rise as an actor, and in 2000, she had the opportunity to work alongside another rising star, Ben Affleck. This came in the form of the crime thriller Reindeer Games, a commercial and critical failure that has thankfully not wormed its way into cult classic status. Theron addressed the movie in a 2008 interview with Esquire, saying she hated the project and called it, quote, a bad movie. While it's clear she didn't love the film, Theron added, "But even though the movie might suck, I got to work with John Frankenheimer. I wasn't lying to myself, that's why I did it. I mean, he directed The Manchurian Candidate, which is like the movie of all movies. Regrets, just it." Frankenheimer died 2 years after Reindeer Games hit theaters, making it his final film. A name that's more often associated with comedy than violence is Jim Carrey, as his movies have made millions laugh for decades.
Do not go in there. Woo!
Over the years, Carrey has branched out to other genres, and in 2013 he found his way onto the set of Kick-Ass 2, playing Colonel Stars and Stripes, a hitman turned born-again Christian vigilante. There was one scene in Kick-Ass 2 that Carrey regretted filming above the rest due to the overwhelming violence on display. His discomfort only deepened after production wrapped, as the Sandy Hook massacre happened shortly after in December 2012. The movie was released in August 2013. Carrey later expressed his feelings in a since-deleted X-post, writing, "I did Kick-Ass a month before Sandy Hook, and now in all good conscience, I cannot support that level of violence." Halle Berry's career took an interesting turn in the 2000s because she won an Academy Award for Monsters Ball in 2002, then won a Razzie Award for Catwoman in 2005. Razzies are given for the worst movies and performances of the year, and almost nobody comes to pick one up when they win. A rare exception to that rule is Berry, who not only showed up but did so clutching her Oscar. When she accepted her Razzie, Berry delivered a tongue-in-cheek speech calling out the studio, the movie, and the Razzies themselves, saying, "First of all, I want to thank Warner Brothers. Thank you for putting me in a piece of god-awful movie." Part of why Berry isn't fond of Catwoman is because she's taken the brunt of the criticism for its failure. She told Entertainment Weekly on the film's 20th anniversary, "I felt like it was Halle Berry's failure, but I didn't make it alone. All these years, I've absolutely carried it." Channing Tatum has been in several notable franchises, with lead roles in the 3 Magic Mike films and 2 Jump Street movies. He also played Duke in the G.I. Joe franchise. That role should have been a dream come true, since Tatum loved G.I. Joe growing up, but he didn't want to play Duke. He wanted to be Snake Eyes. When Howard Stern asked Tatum in 2015 to name a movie he didn't like, the actor shocked Stern when he answered with G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra.
I hate that movie, so I was pushed into doing that movie.
He explained that he accepted a 3-picture deal after starring in Coach Carter, with the Rise of Cobra screenplay the first to be sent his way. but Tatum hated the script and didn't want to do the movie. He tried to get out of it, but was obligated to honor his contract or face the wrath of Paramount Pictures' army of attorneys. In 2023, Tatum told Vanity Fair, "The first one I passed on 7 times, but they had an option on me, and I had to do the movie. So the second one, I obviously just didn't want to do that one either." Dame Judi Dench has performed in several high-profile franchises and big-budget pictures, but one stands above the rest as one of the worst missteps in recent Hollywood history. There's no denying that 2019's Cats was an awful adaptation, though it does feature a ton of talent. Regardless of how well or poorly the film did, Dench isn't a huge fan of it, and didn't enjoy filming the CGI-laden train wreck. She had a particular distaste for her costume, explaining to British Vogue in 2020, "The cloak I was made to wear, like 5 foxes on my back, a battered, mangy old cat, a great big orange bruiser. What's that about?" Part of the reason why Dench didn't like her costume was how her character, old Deuteronomy, was depicted in the film. Dench hoped she would appear elegant, but given how she addressed her costume's appearance, it didn't happen. Released in 2006, Miami Vice starring Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx was a failure, both at the box office and with critics. But that's not why Farrell doesn't like it. Farrell's reason is deeply personal. As he later explained on The Jonathan Ross Show, he told the host, "Basically, I've been fairly drunk or high since I was 14. I was very drunk and high for 16 years, so it was a tough life change. And I was dying. I'm one of the lucky ones."
By the end of Miami Vice, I was just done.
Because of his struggles at the time, Farrell equates Miami Vice with the worst point in his life. So it makes sense that he doesn't like it. Though it suffered from bad reviews upon its initial release, The Sound of Music has gone on to become one of the most beloved movie musicals of all time. Families regularly gather around their televisions to watch it. The songs remain catchy, and Julie Andrews' performance as Maria is an iconic piece of work, matched only by her role as Mary Poppins. That said, one of the film's other stars has never been a fan. Christopher Plummer has spent decades reminding viewers that he never liked The Sound of Music, referring to the film as The Sound of Mucus, S&M, or simply that movie at various points over the years. In 2010, he told the Boston Globe, "I was a bit bored with the character. Although he worked hard enough to make him interesting, it was a bit like flogging a dead horse, and the subject matter is not mine. I mean, it can't appeal to every person in the world. It's not my cup of tea." Before his death in 2021, Plummer always made his thoughts on the film clear, albeit while also acknowledging that people everywhere love it. In a 2015 interview with Vanity Fair, he said, "As cynical as I always was about The Sound of Music, I do respect that it is a bit of relief from all the gunfire and car chases you see these days." By the time the film that would be released to Star Wars came into his life, Sir Alec Guinness was already a legend, and that's why director George Lucas wanted him. The young filmmaker hoped the name and reputation of the star would bolster his film, which largely starred unknowns, and offered Sir Alec a chunk of the film's earnings in exchange. Guinness, thinking it was just another payday, took the job. Then Star Wars became A New Hope and launched the most powerful franchise in the galaxy. A lot of people involved in the production were happy about it, but Guinness was not. Yes, Star Wars made him a lot of money, but he famously couldn't stand the film itself. He refused to open any mail related to the film, and even asked George Lucas to limit future appearances of the Obi-Wan Kenobi character because he hated the dialogue.
"You don't need to see his identification."
"We don't need to see his identification."
"These aren't the droids you're looking for."
Most famously, Guinness once told a young fan who claimed to have seen Star Wars many times that he'd only sign an autograph for him if he promised to never watch the movie again. Just about any list of the greatest sci-fi films ever made has to include Blade Runner. Ridley Scott's 1982 classic about a cop tracking rogue synthetic humans across a futuristic Los Angeles is still beloved today for its visuals, its performances, and the many mysteries buried within its story structure. Blade Runner is also remembered for overcoming so-so reviews, extensive financial turmoil, and development hurdles. It's a movie that persevered against all odds to become a cult classic.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
While frequent re-edits, re-releases, sequels, and spin-offs have kept new audiences finding the film and falling in love, star Harrison Ford apparently isn't one of them. In a 1999 interview with SF Gate, Ford said that no matter which cut of Blade Runner he watches, he responds the same way. I didn't like the movie one way or the other. I played a detective who did not have any detecting to do. In terms of how I related to the material, I found it very difficult. There was stuff that was going on that was really nuts. Despite these struggles, Ford eventually did return to the role of Deckard for Blade Runner 2049. Sometimes actors dislike movies they made because they didn't like the script, or they just did it for the money, or they were overwhelmed by the fame thrust upon them. Then there's Crispin Glover, who has his own very specific reasons for disliking Back to the Future.
What are you doing? I'm writing this down. This is good stuff. Yeah, okay.
In a 2012 interview with the AV Club, looking back on his career, Glover went into a lot of detail about why he didn't appear in either of the film's sequels as George McFly. It's complicated and it actually helped set legal precedent, but according to Glover, a lot of it started with his own dislike of the film's ending, when Marty McFly goes back to 1985 and finds that his parents are happy, and his father is a successful and wealthy sci-fi author. For Glover, that kind of ending just sends the wrong message. He said, I think there would be a better message if, instead of the son character pumping his fist in the air or whatever, if instead the reward was that the mother and father characters are in love with each other, and that there's the potential that money comes in. I think equating their new riches with moral success is a bad message. For Glover, the riches as reward ending of the film only further served corporate interests. Director Robert Zemeckis, however, did not seem to agree. Kate Winslet was already an accomplished young actor by the time Titanic came around, but James Cameron's film about the sinking of the legendary ocean liner made her into an international superstar. Though she's since gone on to do many other roles, and even won Oscars for her non-Titanic work, Winslet will forever be known in the eyes of many as the love-struck Rose, immortalized in memes and on basic cable for years to come. That said, when the time came for a Titanic 3D re-release, Winslet admitted that she actually doesn't like watching the film very much. It's not Cameron's filmmaking though, it's her own performance. She told The Telegraph, "Every single scene, I'm like, really? Really? You did it like that? Oh my god, even my American accent, I can't listen to it. It's awful. I have a hard time watching any of my performances, but watching Titanic, I was just like, oh god, I want to do that again."
I will never let go, Jack. I'll never let go.
Love Actually is one of those films that did well when initially released, but has grown its audience by leaps and bounds in the years since. The romantic comedy anthology about various Londoners and their relationships in the weeks leading up to Christmas has become a holiday staple for many, continuing to draw new fans through annual theatrical showings and Christmas movie marathons. That doesn't mean everyone who worked on the film has to like it, however. While he acknowledges the film's impact and even agreed to return for the Red Nose Day reunion special in 2017, Andrew Lincoln has admitted in interviews that he was never too comfortable with his own place in the film as Mark, the lovesick man who professes undying affection to his best friend's wife. He told Entertainment Weekly, "In one of the most romantic movies of all time, I got to play the only guy who doesn't get the girl. The story is set up like a prism looking at all the different qualities of love. Mine was unrequited, so I got to be this weird stalker guy." In 2007, Katherine Heigl was an up-and-coming actor still working on making the big leap from TV stardom to movie fame. She got a major break in the form of Judd Apatow's Knocked Up, a comedy about the fallout from a one-night stand pregnancy. Knocked Up was a major success, both critically and commercially, helped make Seth Rogen into a comedic star, and further cemented Apatow as one of the genre's guiding lights. For Heigl, though she enjoyed making the film, it was also an unpleasant story about an uptight woman.
Do not make fun of me. Okay, I am hormonal, I am terrified, and I am falling apart, so stop treating everything like it's a big joke.
She told Vanity Fair in 2016. It was a little sexist. It paints the women as shrews, as humorless and uptight, and it paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. It exaggerated the characters, and I had a hard time with it on some days. 98% of the time, it was an amazing experience, but it was hard for me to love the movie. Robert Pattinson was one of several young actors who had overwhelming fame thrust upon them, seemingly overnight, with the original Twilight film. The Batman brought him back to franchise work, but Pattinson has proven himself to be predominantly art house minded. He's not just a pretty face, he's a capable actor. Based on Stephenie Meyer's massively popular novels of the same name, the 5 Twilight films drew a rabid fan base to Pattinson. And while he's well aware of what the movies did for him in terms of status, he was never actually a fan of the movies themselves. In 2011, he admitted to Vanity Fair that it was weird to be kind of representing something you don't particularly like.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
Asked in a Movie Phone interview if he'd go see a Twilight film if he wasn't in them, he responded, "I would just mindlessly hate it." In the years since, however, he seems to have warmed to the films. He told USA Today in 2019, "Now the intensity has died down and it's just very warm memories." Daniel Radcliffe's life changed forever when he was cast as the title character in the Harry Potter series of films. Based on J.K. Rowling's mega bestseller series of books, Radcliffe played Potter in 8 different films across an entire decade of his life, quite literally growing up on the big screen. The actor has fond memories of his time as the boy wizard, and always seems happy to share memories of making the Potter films. But there is little doubt, however, which film is his least favorite to watch. In 2014, he told the Daily Mail, "It's hard to watch a film like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, because I'm just not very good in it. I hate it. My acting is very one-note, and I can see I got complacent and what I was trying to do just didn't come across." The Help is considered by some to be among the best period dramas of the 2010s, and it earned widespread acclaim. Focusing on the interpersonal relationships between black women working for white people in Jackson, Mississippi in 1963 at the height of the civil rights movement, it starred Viola Davis in an Academy Award-nominated lead role. Today, it may be remembered as one of her most celebrated roles, but nevertheless, she's unhappy with the film and says she was reluctant to take the part. She told the New York Times in 2018, "I just felt that at the end of the day that it wasn't the voices of the maids that were heard. I know that if you do a movie where the whole premise is, I want to know what it feels like to work for white people and to bring up children in 1963, I want to hear how you really feel about it. I never heard that in the course of the movie."
Once I told the truth about that, I felt free.
It's likely few people would know who Megan Fox was had she not starred in Michael Bay's Transformers in 2007. The film introduced the Transformers to a new generation, and it introduced Fox to the world.
Why doesn't my little bunny just hop in the back seat?
Oh, God, I can't even tell you how much I'm not your little bunny.
In the film, Fox plays the love interest of Shia LaBeouf, who gets caught up in the earthbound adventures of Optimus Prime and crew when they show up on their doorstep. Since Transformers and its sequel brought Fox a great deal of fame, you'd think it would be at the top of her list of favorite projects. That is not the case. Fox was let go from the production of the third Transformers movie, primarily due to a falling out with Bay. She told Wonderland in 2009 that Bay was a nightmare to work with, saying, "He's like Napoleon. He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is, so he's a nightmare to work for." Following something of a public feud, Fox and Bay reconciled, even working together in the rebooted Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films. Looking back on Transformers and its sequel, Fox has said she hates her acting. She told Entertainment Weekly in 2009, "People are well aware that this is not a movie about acting. Once you realize that, it becomes almost fun because you can be in the moment and go, all right, I know that when he calls action, I'm either going to be running or screaming, or both." Ryan Reynolds has starred in several high-profile superhero movies, but he only truly regrets one, Green Lantern. Intended to launch a franchise of DC Comics films, Reynolds was at the center of it all, and anticipation was high while the film was in production. Cast as Hal Jordan, the cocky test pilot who stumbles upon an alien that bestows upon him a Green Lantern power ring, the film had all the right names and story beats of the comics. But all the anticipation landed with a thud, collapsing in a brightly lit CGI mess that didn't even include a real suit. The movie did so poorly at the box office that it upended DC's plans at the time. In the years since, Reynolds has not been shy at joining in on the joke. The actor has mocked his performance and various aspects of the film on multiple occasions.
And please don't make the super suit green or animated.
Reynolds doubled down in Deadpool 2 by going back in time and shooting himself in the head just as he's about to accept the role of Hal Jordan. He's gone on talk shows, appeared in commercials, and tweeted endlessly about the full scope of Green Lantern's awfulness. Reynolds told Entertainment Weekly in 2016. It also fell victim to the process in Hollywood, which is like poster first, release date second, script last. Grease was a massive hit that turbocharged the careers of Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta, and others. The film's sequel was an often forgettable pile of celluloid, except for the fact that it gave the world one Michelle Pfeiffer. Marking her largest role to date at the time, Grease 2 revisited Rydell High School some 2 years after the previous film, this time depicting British student Michael and the object of his affections, Stephanie, the leader of a girls' gang that only allows its members to date greasers, for reasons. Grease 2 gave Pfeiffer a chance to show her stuff, singing and dancing and taking a big leap towards becoming a household name. But it is also regarded by some to be among the worst musicals of all time, she told Hollywood.com in 2014. I hated that film with a vengeance and could not believe how bad it is. At the time, I was young and didn't know better. Pfeiffer also didn't think she'd get the part, calling her casting a total fluke. High School Musical was a massive success, and it launched the career of multiple stars, including Zac Efron. Not only was the film a hit, but it also spawned 2 sequels, and Efron starred in both of them, playing Troy Bolton to widespread popularity. Efron was a teenage heartthrob who could sing, dance, and look good doing it.
Whoa! Time out on that one.
After he put those films in his rearview mirror, Efron got to work playing more diverse roles. While Musical made him a star, the way Efron sees it, his most awkward stage in life was also immortalized for generations of teens. He discussed how the role made him feel in a 2021 interview with Men's Journal and said, "I step back and look at myself and I still want to kick that guy's ass sometimes. He's done some kind of cool things with some cool people, but I mean, he's still just that kid from High School Musical." Bob Hoskins was an exceptional actor, lending power and presence to numerous iconic roles. But there's one iconic role that didn't work out so well. In fact, it's sometimes cited among the worst movies ever made. It was also the first video game adaptation ever put to film. Long before Chris Pratt ever said, "It's a me," Hoskins took on the role of Mario in Super Mario Bros. In 1993. His first and last name being the same in the film was the first of many mistakes made in its production. With the possible exception of the costumes for Mario and Luigi, little about the movie relates to the source material.
Aliens? Oh, we gotta deal with aliens too? Luigi, we're the aliens! Yeah? Whoa, cool!
Fans aren't the only people who hated Super Mario Bros. Hoskins absolutely loathed the film, and he never kept that disdain to himself. He told The Guardian in 2007, "The worst thing I ever did? Super Mario Bros. It was a nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own agent told them to get off the set." Dismissing them as idiots, he cited the project as his biggest regret. Matt Damon launched to superstardom with Good Will Hunting. It brought his career to new heights, and it helped him land his most iconic role, Jason Bourne. Damon first played Bourne in The Bourne Identity, and has since appeared in 3 sequels. While the movies did exceptionally well and solidified his place as a Hollywood A-lister, Damon isn't a huge fan of the third film, The Bourne Ultimatum. In an interview with GQ, he expressed his disappointment with the script, which he credited to Tony Gilroy's deal to write a single draft, take no notes or rewrite, and receive, quote, "an exorbitant amount of money."
You cannot run what you did, Jason. You made yourself into who you are.
Despite pointing out the script as the reason for the film's lackluster performance, Damon doesn't hold Gilroy accountable. He explained, "I don't blame Tony for taking a boatload of money and handing in what he handed in. It's just that it was unreadable. This is a career ender. I mean, I could put this thing up on eBay and it would be game over for that dude. It's terrible. It's really embarrassing." Ultimately, the shooting script was rushed into production due to a set release date. Circa the late noughts, Sam Worthington had become Hollywood's hottest flavor, landing high-profile gigs headlining Avatar, a Terminator sequel, and a Clash of the Titans remake.
Tell him.
What?
Your journey does not end well. Fate has spoken.
Of course, Avatar became a once-in-a-generation hit, but Worthington's other 2 projects didn't quite work out as well. Titans, which put him alongside the likes of Liam Neeson, Gemma Arterton, Mads Mikkelsen, and other celebrated actors did fair to middling business, ultimately failing to woo critics or audiences. The film eventually got a sequel with 2012's Wrath of the Titans, but Worthington isn't a fan of his acting in Clash. He apologized to fans in a 2010 interview with Moviephone, admitting, "I think the first one we kind of let down some people. I think I can act better, to be honest. Just take all the notes from people that I've been reading about on the net and give them a movie they want." When Brad Pitt was cast opposite Tom Cruise in Anne Rice's eagerly anticipated Interview with the Vampire adaptation, many saw it as a passing of the torch. Here was Hollywood's hottest young actor matched with its biggest star. In this darkest of tales, he would shine brightest. In the eyes of some, no one. The movie made money, but according to Pitt, it was a nightmare to shoot. In a 2011 interview with Entertainment Weekly, Pitt explained how miserable he was, shooting for 6 months in the dark. On top of that, he felt his character wasn't as fully realized as he should have been. When asked if he knew what the role would be going in, Pitt replied, "No, I didn't. There was no script. I knew the book, and in the book you have this guy asking, 'Who am I?' which was probably applicable to me at the time."
You thought you could have it all. Oh, shut up, Louis!
Explaining that he got the script 2 weeks before shooting, Pitt even tried to get out of his contract. He called producer David Geffen, a good friend of his, and asked what it would cost to break the contract. When Geffen's answer was in the neighborhood of $40 million, Pitt decided to take his vitriol and, like any good vampire, just suck it up. 2015's Terminator Genisys cast Emilia Clarke as a quasi-new Linda Hamilton in the same character of Sarah Connor. The film aimed to reboot the franchise once again, and had it been successful, Clarke would have had a cinematic vehicle for years.
Come with me if you want to live!
Unfortunately, the movie was deemed a disappointment, even if it did gross more than $440 million at the worldwide box office. Because it underperformed, the planned sequel was scrapped. Clarke spoke with Vanity Fair in 2018 about her experiences filming Genisys, noting that she'd seen the film's director, Alan Taylor, get eaten and chewed up on Terminator. "He was not the director I remembered. He didn't have a good time. No one had a good time." If you've ever wondered what the worst Batman movie was, just head into your local comic book store, conduct a poll, and you'll inevitably hear a consensus surrounding Joel Schumacher's last film in the franchise. If you happen to pass by the one-time Dark Knight himself, George Clooney, you could ask him and he'd likely agree. When Clooney took the role following Val Kilmer in Schumacher's Batman Forever, he was an on-the-rise TV star, navigating a tricky transition to films. At the time, it was the biggest thing he had ever done, and while he recalls it as a role that helped him secure financial freedom, he nevertheless regrets it more than he does being in Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Clooney's Batman had nipples on the bat suit, a bat credit card, and dialogue corny enough to make Adam West cringe.
Let's kick some ice.
Clooney is no fan of the movie and has apologized to the fans several times. During an appearance on The Graham Norton Show in 2016, he remembered the experience as a disaster.
"I always apologize for that."
Clooney went on to say that he thought it destroyed the franchise.
"I thought at the time this was going to be a very good career move. It wasn't."
Long before donning the Dark Knight's cowl for the DCEU, Ben Affleck was playing a different superhero for Marvel. His first foray into costumed crime fighting, however, didn't receive any encore performances. Affleck played Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, in the 2003 movie, a notorious dud at the time. While the film featured notable Easter eggs for fans who had long hoped to see their hero on the silver screen, it deviated from the source enough to provoke others. Affleck's performance isn't terrible, but the movie features some bad acting, crummy dialogue, and several scenes that deserve to reside in the bottom of the discount bin at your local 99-cent store. In 2015, Affleck admitted to Entertainment Weekly that the film was a misfire, saying, "Daredevil didn't work at all. That was before people realized you could make these movies and make them well. There was a cynical sense of put a red leather outfit on a guy, have him run around, hunt some bad guys, and cash the check."